Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jayam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 10, the discussion between Jad Bharat and Maharaj Rahugana, text number 20 onwards. So Rahugana Maharaj is further speaking to Jad Bharat. Savai bhavan lok nirikshanartham avyakta lingo vicharati apisvit yogeshwaranam gatimandha buddhi katham vichakshita grihanubandha. It's not a fact that your good self is a direct representative of Kapil Dev, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not, you have presented yourself to be a deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you and I am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in spiritual life? So see, even Arjun, when he gave all his logics for not fighting the war, and Krishna didn't give him any instructions, till he surrendered unto Krishna. Till he said, I am completely lost. I don't know what is dharma or what is not, what is good for me and what is not. Please instruct me. Then Krishna instructed him. So until we are serious, desperate about advancement in spiritual life, until we want to know the truth, Krishna is sitting within our heart, inside our heart. Krishna is outside us. Everywhere he is. He wants to just see our desire. And then he'll present the right person who can impart the knowledge. He'll make everything happen. He's the Supreme Lord. What's so difficult for him? Nothing. But we have to be ready. Although Maharaj Rahugana was playing the part of a king, he had been informed by Jad Bharat that he was not a king, nor was Jad Bharat deaf and dumb. Such designations were simply coverings of the spirit soul. Everyone must come to this knowledge. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Dehinu asmin yatha dehe. Everyone is encased within the body, since the body is never identical with the soul. The bodily activities are simply illusory. In the association of such a sadhu as Jad Bharat, Maharaj Rahugana came to the awareness that his activities as a royal authority was simply illusory phenomena. He therefore agreed to receive knowledge from Jad Bharat, and that was the beginning of his perfection. Tad vijnanartham sagurum eva abhigachet. A person like Maharaj Rahugana, who was very inquisitive to know the value of life and the spiritual science, must approach a personality like Jad Bharat. One must approach a guru like Jad Bharat, a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to inquire about the goal of life. So that is the real purpose of approaching a guru, also to inquire about the goal of life, not to get some sicknesses removed or get some material wealth or something else like that. In fact, that's not the job of a guru either. Even if he has all sorts of yogic powers, he's not supposed to increase the entanglement of his disciples. So that is a real guru. Drishta shrama karmat atmano ve bhartur gantur bhavatascha numanye yatha sado Danayanadya bhava samul ishto vyavahara margaha. You have said, I'm not fatigued from labor, although the soul is different from the body. There is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you're carrying the palanquin, there is a certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture, or this is my understanding. You also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual. But although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, but the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things that is visible and experienced. And so the phenomenal world means the material world. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot said to be untrue. This is a discussion on impersonal Mayavad philosophy and the practical philosophy of Vaishnavas. The Mayavad philosophy explains this phenomenal world to be false, but Vaishnava philosophers do not agree. They know that the phenomenal world is a temporary manifestation, but it is not false. A dream that we see at night is certainly false, but a horrible dream certainly affects the person seeing it. The soul's fatigue is not factual, but as long as one is immersed in the illusory bodily conception, one is affected by such false dreams. When dreaming, it is not possible to avoid the actual facts, and the conditioned soul is forced to suffer due to his dream. A water pot is made of earth and is temporary. Actually, there is no water pot, there is simply earth. However, as long as the water pot can contain water, we can use it in that way. It cannot be said to be absolutely false. So, many points Prabhupada made that Maharaj Rahugana said that Jad Bharat, my dear Guru, you said the soul is not fatigued, only the body is fatigued. But he says, so the soul appears to be fatigued because the body is tired and it needs to take rest. So as long as we identify ourselves with the body, we take on the conception that whatever is happening to the body is actually happening to the soul. That is where we make the mistake. Just like we want to give pleasure to the soul, that is a goal of life. But we think giving pleasure or comfort to the body will give pleasure to the soul. But that doesn't happen. So this philosophy of, and Prabhupada discussed the Mayavad philosophy and the Vaishnava philosophy. Mayavadi says, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. This world is illusion. But Vaishnava philosophy says it's not illusion, it's temporary, but it is factual. It is there. It's temporary, yes. Just like to give you an example of Mayavad philosophy. And for a layman, it makes perfect sense actually. For all of us also. Just think logically. Mayavadis say that the second like minute, second, hour, that second that has just passed, it's gone. It doesn't exist. And the second that is about to come, it also doesn't exist. It's not there yet. So only thing that is present is that 1 second, 1 shana. And that is going to be gone, just like that. So everything doesn't really exist. Everything is illusion. Now, how many of us can deny this logic? sounds very...
No way we can deny, Prabhuji. This seems perfect.
It's reasonable, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So just imagine if somebody presented this to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, there is stool in your body. So if you go and evacuate, the stool is gone. And if you eat food, the food will convert into stool. But the food hasn't been converted to the stool, and you have evacuated, the stool is gone. But there is stool inside your body. How can you deny that? There is stool inside your body and in your brain also.
I guess, Prabhuji, please repeat once to settle it in.
See, there is stool in our intestines, right?
Yes.
So when we evacuate, the stool is gone. So from our body, the stool does not exist. And the food that we're going to eat is going to become stool later on. So according to them, the stool is illusion. It's not there. It is there. in your intestine, some stool is still there. Whether we call it illusion or not, it is temporary. So even if what we think for a second, the time goes on like this, but the items that we see, they are there. This phone is there, the laptop is there, the table is there. These things are there. They're not illusion. They're temporary, yes, no doubt about it. Nobody is denying that. But at the same time, we can use everything in the service of the Lord. So this is how Mayavadis play with the words. So one has to be very, very careful. Anyway, text 22. Sthalyagni tapati tapyati yaso abhitapas tatta tapas tas tandul garbha randhi dehendriyas vashayas nikarshat tat sanskriti purushasya anurodha. King Rahugana continued, my dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect, because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated, one after the other. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning. This argument put forward by Maharaj Rahugana is correct from the practical point of view, but it arises from an attachment to the bodily conception. It can be said that a person sitting in his car is certainly different from his car, but if there is a damage to the car, the owner of the car, being overly attached to the car, feels pain. Actually, the damage done to the car has nothing to do with the car's proprietor, but because the proprietor has identified himself with the interest of the car, he feels pleasure and pain connected with it. This conditional state can be avoided if attachment is withdrawn from the car. Then the proprietor would not feel pleasure or pain if the car is damaged or whatever. Similarly, the soul has nothing to do with the body and the senses. But due to ignorance, he identifies himself with the body and he feels pleasure and pain due to bodily pleasure and pain. So this is what the ignorance is. It's not the actual connection between soul and the body. So this is what the beginning of instruction in Bhagavad Gita is. This is all temporary. Get above it. Tanstitikshasva Bharat. This is what Krishna tells Arjuna. Shasta abhigopta nripati prajanam yam kinkaro vaina pinashti pishtam swadharmam aradhyanam achyutasya yadi mano vijahati aghogam. My dear sir, you have said that the relationship between the king and the subject, or between the master and the servant, are not eternal. But although such relationships are temporary, when a person takes a position of a king, his duty is to rule the citizens and punish those who are disobedient to the laws. By punishing them, he teaches the citizens to obey the laws of the state. Again, you have said that punishing a person who is deaf and dumb is like chewing the chewed or grinding the pulp. That is to say, there is no benefit in it. However, if one is engaged in his own occupational duty as ordered by the Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all his sinful activities in that way. So Maharaj Raghunatha is also putting forth nice arguments. This argument offered by Maharaj Raghunatha is certainly very effective. In his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, somehow or other one should engage in Krishna consciousness. Actually, every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna, but due to forgetfulness, a living entity engages himself as an eternal servant of Maya. As long as one is engaged in Maya's service, he cannot be happy. Our Krishna consciousness movement aims at engaging people in Lord Krishna's service. That will help them become freed from all material contamination and sinful activity. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vitaragavaya Krodha. By becoming detached from material activities, we'll be freed from fear and anger. By austerity, one becomes purified and eligible to return home back to Godhead. The duty of the citizen is to rule duty of the king is to rule the citizens in such a way that they can become Krishna conscious. This would be very beneficial for everyone. Unfortunately, the king or president engages people in sense gratification instead of the Lord's service. And such activities are certainly not beneficial for anyone. King Raghunatha tried to engage Jad Bharat in carrying the palanquin, but which is a form of sense gratification for the king. However, if one is engaged as a palanquin carrier in the Lord's service, that is certainly beneficial. So this is what we do when the Shova Yatra of the Lord, the Gaur Nitai or Radha Krishna on the palki, and that is beneficial. In this godless civilization, if a president engages people somehow or other in the devotional service or the awakening of Krishna consciousness, he renders the very best service to the citizens. Otherwise, he is creating entanglement for him and for the citizens. So Maharaj Raghunatha further says, Tanme bhavan nar deva bhimanam madena tuchikritya sattamasya krishisht matri drisham artha bandho yatha tare sadav dhyanam aha. Whatever you have spoken appears to me to be contradictory. O best friend of the distressed, I have committed a great offense by insulting you. I was puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of a king. For this, I have certainly become an offender. Therefore, I pray that you kindly glance at me with your causeless mercy. If you do so, I can be relieved from sinful activities brought about by insulting you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that by offending a Vaishnava, one finishes all his spiritual activities. Offending a Vaishnava is considered the mad elephant offense. A mad elephant can destroy an entire garden which has been developed with great labor. One may attain the topmost platform of devotion service, but somehow or other, if he offends a Vaishnava, the whole structure collapses. Unconsciously, King Raghunatha offended Jad Bharat, but due to his good sense, he asked to be excused. This is the process by which one can be relieved from a Vaishnava aparadh. Krishna is always very simple and by nature merciful. When one commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava, one must immediately apologize to such a personality so that his spiritual advancement may not be hampered. So Maharaj Rahugana, he prayed for the offense to be mitigated. He prayed for the excuse for the offense that he had committed against Jad Bharat. And by falling at his lotus feet, by asking him questions for clarification, and he was sincere in his asking for forgiveness. Prabhupada, he made it a point that every morning when we do Mangal Arti morning program, then we all fall down at the feet, or we all pay obeisances to each other, to all the devotees, Vancha Kalparabhyasha, and asking for forgiveness. But the question is, do we really ask for forgiveness? Do we really feel that the devotees are kalpataru, as desired trees? No. Maybe some of us do, but I don't have that kind of mentality. So if that is a mood, okay, it's a good practice to ask for forgiveness that way, but that sincerity in the heart should be there when we ask for forgiveness. Maharaj Rahugana had complete sincerity. And then of course, Vaishnavas are very merciful. Even if we are not sincere, they will still forgive us. But Krishna does not forgive. He knows inside, outside, whatever is there in our heart. He knows everything. So we can hide from everybody, not from Krishna. So we got to be very careful, very sincere when dealing with devotees. Na vikriya vishwa suhrit sakhasya samyen vitabhi matestvapi mahad vimanat swakritadhi madring nakshyati aduradapi shulapanihi. My dear Lord, you are the friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a friend of all living entities. You are therefore equal to everyone, and you are free from the worldly conception. Although I have committed an offense by insulting you, I know that there is no loss or gain for you due to my insult. You are fixed in your determination, but I have committed an offense. Because of this, even though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I shall be vanquished without delay due to my offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Maharaj Rahugan was very intelligent and conscious of the inauspicious effects arising from insulting a Vaishnava. He was therefore very anxious to be excused by Jad Bharat. Following in the footsteps of Maharaj Rahugana, everyone should be cautious not to commit an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. And here Prabhupada didn't say of a pure Vaishnava, he says of a Vaishnava. So everybody is a Vaishnava, even if it's a Kanishtadikari. He or she is a Vaishnava. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat says, even if one is as strong as Lord Shiva, who carries a trident in his hand, one will nonetheless fall down from his spiritual position if he tries to insult a Vaishnava. That is the verdict of all Vedic scriptures. He also says this in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Later on, one who blasphemes a Vaishnava cannot be protected by anyone. Even a person is as strong as Lord Shiva. If he blasphemes a Vaishnava, he is sure to be destroyed. This is the verdict of all Shastras. If one does not care for the verdict of the Shastras and dares blaspheme a Vaishnava, he suffers life after life because of this. So this is how serious Krishna takes an offense against his dear devotees. And every Vaishnava, every devotee is very, very dear to Krishna. So we got to be very, very careful dealing with the devotees. Only way to deal with them is by serving them, by giving them proper respect, proper honor, and not judging them, not at all judging them, not criticizing them. if we see a behavior in a devotee which is not according to the rule books or proper behavior, we can bring it to him or his attention, but only if we are either his authority, his or her authority, or if we have a relationship with him that he will not feel offended. Otherwise, we just pray to Krishna without judging anybody. Because it can put an obstacle on our devotion service path, the progress. And we got on this path after millions and millions and millions of lifetimes of going all over the Brahman, all over the universe in different species of life. Somehow or other, we got this opportunity, a golden opportunity to make progress. So we just got to be very careful. That's all. So thus ends the 10th chapter of 5th canto, and tomorrow we'll start the 11th chapter. Any questions or comments? Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day.
Wonderful,
Hare
Guruji,
Krishna.
especially
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare